First contact fallout. The large meeting room fell silent as Admiral Helena Reeves stood up from her chair. Everyone watched her with great interest. She was the first human to ever speak at a Galactic Concord meeting. 37 alien species waited for her words. "On behalf of Earth, I must reject these terms," Helena said firmly. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Ambassador Trell of the Vixari species blinked his 4 eyes rapidly. His gray skin turned a shade darker with what humans would recognize as anger. "Admiral Reeves," Trell said slowly, "perhaps you misunderstand the honor being offered. The Galactic Concord rarely invites new species to join. Your rejection is unprecedented." Helena stood tall in her blue uniform. "I understand perfectly. These terms would require Earth to give up control of our resources and military. We would be forced to accept Concord officials overseeing our governments. That is not partnership. That is submission." Dr. Marcus Reed shifted nervously in his seat beside Helena. As Earth's top expert in alien languages and cultures, he knew how badly this was going. The Concord delegation looked shocked and offended. Some representatives were already leaving their seats. "Admiral," Marcus whispered urgently, "this breaks every diplomatic protocol. We should discuss this privately first." But Helena wasn't listening. She placed a data device on the table that projected images of documents. "We have evidence that the Concord has systematically exploited new member species. Your protection comes at the cost of freedom." Trell rose to his full height, towering over the human representatives. "This meeting is over. The Concord has extended its hand in friendship, and you have responded with insults. There will be consequences for such disrespect." The alien delegates filed out quickly, their colorful robes swishing as they moved. Within minutes, only the humans remained in the vast chamber built into the massive space station orbiting Jupiter. Marcus turned to Helena, his face pale. "What have you done? We spent years preparing for this meeting." Helena waited until the doors closed completely. Then she pulled out another data device. "Look at this, Marcus. I received it 3 days ago from someone inside the Concord." Marcus studied the information. It showed secret agreements, hidden clauses, and records of resources extracted from worlds that had joined the Concord. Each new member seemed to thrive at first, but eventually became little more than a supplier of raw materials and labor for the older members. "My God," Marcus whispered. "If this is real." "It's real," Helena said firmly. "I had it verified. The Concord isn't what it claims to be. They've been manipulating developing species for centuries." When they returned to Earth, the reaction was exactly what Helena expected. The world government split into 2 camps. Some supported her decision, while others called for her immediate removal. The news channels couldn't talk about anything else. "Admiral Reeves should be court-martialed," shouted one angry politician on a worldwide broadcast. "She single-handedly destroyed our chance to join the galactic community." But others saw her as a hero. "She protected Earth's independence," her supporters argued. "We would have become slaves to these aliens." 1 week after the failed meeting, Helena sat alone in her office at United Defense Force headquarters in Geneva. Her computer screen showed dozens of angry messages, but one message caught her attention. It came from General Victor Torres, her direct superior. "Meeting. Tonight. Your apartment. Tell no one." That seemed strange. Why not meet at headquarters? Later that night, Helena heard a knock at her apartment door. She opened it to find not only General Torres but also Dr. Marcus Reed. "We need to talk," Torres said grimly as he entered. "Something's happening." Marcus looked worried. "Our deep space monitoring stations picked up a signal 6 hours ago. A large group of ships is heading toward our solar system from Concord territory." "How large?" Helena asked. "Largest we've ever seen," Torres replied. "And that's not all. We've detected unusual activity around our orbital defenses. Someone or something is probing our systems." Helena felt a chill. "They're preparing for something." "There's more," Marcus added. "I've been studying Concord history from the data you shared. There's a pattern. Species that defy the Concord tend to experience accidents or natural disasters shortly after. Then they usually accept Concord help and protection. Helena walked to her window and looked at the night sky. So I was right about them. Torres nodded. It appears so. But now we have to deal with the consequences. The Security Council is meeting tomorrow. Many want to apologize to the Concord and accept their terms. That would be a mistake, Helena said. If we show weakness now, we'll never be treated as equals. As they spoke, none of them noticed the small drone hovering outside Helena's window, recording everything they said, nor did they notice the strange signal being broadcast to their personal devices, copying their data. In orbit around Earth, a small cloaked ship received these transmissions. Inside, a figure with blue-tinted skin and large eyes watched the humans with interest. They found our evidence sooner than expected, the alien said to someone off-screen. The Admiral is smarter than the Council predicted. A voice replied, Is this going to be a problem, Agent Noral? No, the blue-skinned alien answered. It actually makes things more interesting. The humans are already divided. When the fleet arrives, half of them will surrender immediately. And the other half? Agent Noral smiled, showing pointed teeth. The other half will fight, and that's exactly what we want. We need to see how they respond to pressure. The reports about their adaptability may be true after all. The next morning, people around the world woke up to frightening news. All communication satellites had suddenly failed. Internet services were down in many regions. And strangest of all, the moon appeared larger in the sky than normal. At the emergency meeting of Earth's Security Council, scientists explained the moon phenomenon. Something has altered the moon's orbit slightly, one scientist reported. It's now 7% closer to Earth. This demonstrates technology far beyond our capabilities. Helena stood before the worried council members. This is the first move by the Concord. They're showing us what they can do without firing a shot. A council member from India spoke up. How do we know you didn't provoke this with your reckless behavior, Admiral? Because I was right about them, Helena replied firmly. They never intended an equal partnership. This show of force proves it. As the arguments continued, Marcus rushed into the room. Excuse me, but you need to see this. He projected an image showing a massive fleet of ships now visible near Jupiter. Hundreds of vessels, many larger than anything humans had built. They're here, Marcus said, and they've sent a message to every government on Earth simultaneously. The message appeared on the main screen. People of Earth, the unfortunate actions of your representatives have necessitated direct intervention. For your safety and the stability of this region, the Concord will now establish a protective presence in your system. Resistance is unnecessary and inadvisable. We come to help guide your species toward proper development. The room fell silent. Then Helena spoke. Now you see their true intentions. They were never going to accept us as equals. We have a choice to make. Submit or fight. As she finished speaking, the lights in the room flickered. Then all power failed completely. The invasion had begun. The gathering storm 6 months had passed since the failed diplomatic meeting. Earth had changed dramatically. The Galactic Concord had not launched a full invasion as many had feared. Instead, they had taken a more subtle approach that was proving just as effective. Admiral Helena Reeves sat in a small, dimly lit room that served as her temporary quarters. She was no longer an admiral. After the initial contact with the conquered fleet, Earth's governments had scrambled to appease the aliens. Helena had been blamed for the crisis and was now awaiting court-martial. She stared at the wall, thinking about the reports she had managed to gather. 3 human colonies on distant moons in the solar system had experienced complete technology failures. The official explanation was equipment malfunction, but Helena knew better. It was the Conquered demonstrating their power. Her computer terminal beeped softly. Another message from an unknown sender had arrived. This had been happening more frequently, strange communications that disappeared when security systems scanned for them. Helena had started recording these messages using an old device that wasn't connected to any network. The message was brief. They are watching you. Trust no electronic device. The general will contact you tonight. Helena deleted the message immediately. She had suspected her communications were being monitored. This confirmed it. But which general would contact her? Most of her former colleagues had distanced themselves. Meanwhile, across the city in a university research building, Dr. Marcus Reed was working late. The Concord had established what they called a cultural exchange center on Earth, and Marcus had been assigned as a liaison due to his knowledge of alien languages. But he was growing increasingly uncomfortable with his role. Tonight, he had received something unusual, an alien data crystal that didn't match Concord technology. When he accessed it privately in his lab, a hologram appeared, a slender alien with pale blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. "I am Lara of the Altari," the alien said in a whispery voice. "You do not know my species because the Concord keeps us hidden. I risk everything to contact you. Your Admiral Reeves was correct. The Concord is not what it seems." Marcus watched, fascinated and terrified, as Lara explained that the Concord Security Council had authorized several punitive measures against Earth. "What you have seen so far is only the beginning," Lara warned. "The technology failures, the orbital disruptions, these are warnings. The Concord wants Earth, but not for the reasons you might think." The hologram flickered. "I cannot maintain this connection long. The Concord monitors all communications, but you must know that there are those among us who disagree with these actions. Find Helena Reeves. She is in danger." The message ended, leaving Marcus staring at the empty space where the hologram had been. After a moment of shock, he grabbed his coat and hurried out of the building. Across the city, Helena heard a soft knock at her door. When she opened it, she was surprised to see General Victor Torres. Once her superior officer, Torres had said nothing publicly during her downfall. "We don't have much time," Torres said as he entered. "They're moving you tomorrow." "Moving me where?" Helena asked. "A more secure facility. One where you'll likely disappear." Torres looked grim. "There's a faction within Earth's leadership that has decided to fully cooperate with the Concord. Part of that agreement involves handing over troublemakers, like you." Helena wasn't entirely surprised. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you were right," Torres admitted. 6 months ago, I thought you had destroyed our chance for peaceful relations. Now I've seen enough to know better." He handed her a small device. "This contains access codes to a small ship at the old military spaceport. It's not much, but it will get you off Earth. A group of us have been watching the Concord carefully. We think they're planning something big." Before Helena could respond, her emergency communicator buzzed, the old-fashioned kind that used radio waves rather than the global network. "Admiral Reeves?" It was Marcus Reed's voice. "Dr. Reed, how did you get this frequency?" "No time to explain. Are you secure? Can you talk?" "I'm with General Torres. He says I need to leave Earth immediately." There was a pause. "He's right. I've just received information from a Concord defector. You're in danger. We need to meet." Torres looked at his watch. "The spaceport. 2 hours. I'll arrange clearance." He turned to Helena. "Pack only what you can carry. Nothing electronic." As Torres left, Helena quickly gathered her few important possessions. Years in the military had taught her to travel light. Within 20 minutes, she was ready. Elsewhere in the solar system, a massive Concord vessel hovered near Jupiter's moon Europa. Inside, Ambassador Trell reviewed the reports from Earth. The humans continued to resist in small ways, an aide reported. Despite the technology disruptions, they are adapting more quickly than predicted. Trell nodded thoughtfully. "As expected. That's why we haven't simply taken their planet by force. We need to understand this adaptability." He turned to face a large viewing screen. "What about our special project?" "Proceeding as planned. We've identified several humans with particularly promising neural patterns. The test at the colony on Ganymede confirmed our theories." "Good," Trell said. "And the diplomatic situation?" "Most Earth governments are cooperating fully. They believe our story about cultural exchange and protective oversight. A few resist, but they are isolated." "And Admiral Reeves?" The aide hesitated. "There's been a development. Our monitoring systems detected unusual communications near her location. We believe someone may be helping her." Trell's 4 eyes narrowed. "Increase surveillance. I want her found and contained before Phase 2 begins. 2 hours later, Helena arrived at the abandoned spaceport outside the city. Once a busy hub for early space exploration, it had been replaced by newer facilities. Now it stood mostly empty, used occasionally for military training. She spotted Marcus waiting in the shadows near an old hangar. As she approached, she noticed he looked nervous. "Dr. Reed?" She greeted him. "You said you had information?" Marcus glanced around before speaking. "I was contacted by an alien named Lara, from a species called the Altari. She said the Concord has been lying about everything." Helena wasn't surprised. "What else did she say?" "The Concord is especially interested in humans for some reason. The punitive measures against Earth are just the beginning of something bigger." Before Marcus could continue, they heard the sound of an approaching vehicle. General Torres stepped out, looking worried. "We need to move now," he said urgently. "Security protocols just changed. They know something's happening." Torres led them to a small hangar where a sleek, dark vessel waited. It wasn't large, about the size of an old passenger jet, but it looked fast. "This is the Defiance," Torres explained. "Experimental stealth technology. It's not perfect, but it might keep you off their sensors long enough to get away." "Get away to where?" Helena asked. "There's a research outpost in the Kuiper Belt," Marcus said. "Lara sent coordinates. She said she'll meet us there." Torres handed Helena a data chip. "This contains everything we've learned about Concord activities in our system. It's not much, but it might help you understand what they're planning." Suddenly, lights flooded the area around the hangar. Alarms began to sound. "They've found us," Torres said. "Get on board, I'll hold them off." Helena hesitated. "Come with us." Torres shook his head. "Someone needs to stay behind to cover your escape. Besides, I can do more good here, gathering information." As Helena and Marcus boarded the ship, Torres pulled out a weapon. "One more thing," he called to them. "We've detected a massive energy buildup in the Concord fleet. Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon." The ship's engines hummed to life as Helena took the controls. Her military training included pilot certification, though she hadn't flown regularly in years. "Strap in," she told Marcus. "This won't be smooth." As the Defiance rose from the hangar, they could see security forces surrounding the area. Torres was exchanging fire with them, providing a distraction. Helena pushed the engines to full power, and the ship shot upward into the night sky. Behind them, Earth's surface quickly receded. "They'll track us," Marcus said worriedly. "Not if the stealth technology works," Helena replied. "And not if we move fast." As they approached Earth orbit, their communication system suddenly activated. A global alert was being broadcast to all channels. "Attention all Earth citizens. The Galactic Concord has detected dangerous rebel activity. For your safety, a temporary communication blackout will begin in all regions. Please remain in your homes. Concord peacekeepers will maintain order." Helena and Marcus watched in horror as the lights of Earth's cities began to go dark below them. The invasion had entered a new phase. "We need to hurry," Helena said grimly. "We may be Earth's only hope now." As the Defiance accelerated away from Earth, neither of them noticed the small probe that detached from a nearby satellite. It began to follow them, maintaining a careful distance. The storm was gathering, and humanity's future hung in the balance. Unconventional warfare. The sky over New York City turned an unnatural shade of green. People stopped in the streets to stare upward as strange cloud formations spiraled overhead. Similar phenomena were occurring around the world, unusual weather patterns that scientists couldn't explain. High above Earth's atmosphere, massive Concord vessels positioned themselves strategically. They weren't firing weapons they didn't need to. Their technology allowed them to manipulate Earth's atmosphere with precision. "The pacification is proceeding according to plan," reported a Concord officer to Ambassador Trell. "Atmospheric disruption is causing widespread confusion but minimal casualties as ordered." Trell nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. The humans must understand our power, but we need them mostly intact." He turned to view a holographic display of Earth. "What about the resistance efforts?" "Scattered and disorganized as expected. However, there is one group showing unusual effectiveness." They're led by a human military officer named Commander Diana West. Trell's 4 eyes blinked with interest. Show me. Meanwhile, deep in a former military bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Diana West addressed a room full of determined faces. Some wore military uniforms, others civilian clothes. All looked grim. The conquered forces are avoiding direct confrontation, Diana explained, pointing to a map. They're using atmospheric manipulation to disrupt our infrastructure and communication networks. Power grids are failing across North America and Europe. A young soldier raised his hand. Why don't they just attack us directly? They have the firepower. Because they want something from us, Diana replied. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. This is about control, not destruction. An older man in a lab coat stood up. We've made an interesting discovery about their technology. Dr. Park, please explain. Dr. Park, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, stepped forward. We've found that certain Earth technologies actually disrupt conquered systems in unexpected ways. Specifically, our older analog devices, things that don't use digital signals or networks. She held up what looked like an old radio. This equipment is too primitive for their advanced systems to even recognize as technology. It's beneath their notice. We've been using modified versions to communicate without detection. Diana nodded. This gives us an advantage they don't expect, and now let's talk about our next move. Far from Earth, beyond the orbit of Neptune, the experimental ship Defiance drifted silently through the darkness of the outer solar system. Inside, Admiral Helena Reeves and Dr. Marcus Reed had spent weeks studying the data they'd escaped with. We're approaching the coordinates, Helena said, checking the navigation system. This abandoned research outpost should be just ahead. Marcus looked out the viewport. I still don't understand why an alien would help us. What does Lara gain by betraying the Concorde? We'll ask her when we meet her, Helena replied. If she shows up at all. The outpost came into view. A small dark structure attached to a frozen chunk of rock floating in space. It showed no signs of life or activity. Sensors detect no power sources or life forms, Helena noted. But there is a sealed environment inside. We should be able to dock and enter safely. After carefully docking their ship, Helena and Marcus put on spacesuits and entered the outpost. The interior was cold and dark until motion sensors detected them and dim emergency lights activated. Hello? Marcus called out. His voice echoed through the empty metal corridors. A soft blue light began to glow at the end of the hallway. It moved toward them, gradually taking the shape of a slender alien figure. I am Lara, the alien said in a whispery voice. Thank you for coming. We don't have much time. Inside a small meeting room, Lara explained her situation. My species, the Altari, were once respected members of the Concorde. We specialized in xenobiology, the study of different species. But when we discovered the truth about human neural structures, the Concorde silenced us. What truth? Helena asked. Humans possess unique neural patterns that allow for unprecedented adaptation, Lara explained. Your brains form new connections in response to challenges at a rate we've never seen in any other species. This makes you dangerous in the Concorde's view, but also valuable. Marcus leaned forward. Valuable how? The Concorde's most advanced technology is based on prediction algorithms. These systems anticipate everything from market fluctuations to population movements to military strategies, but they've reached the limits of what their current models can do. Lara's large eyes blinked slowly. They believe human neural patterns could revolutionize these systems. Helena frowned. They want to study our brains? Worse, Lara said. They want to harvest your creativity. The atmospheric disruption on Earth isn't just for control. It's also part of an experiment to see how humans adapt under pressure. Back on Earth, Diana's resistance forces were putting their plan into action. Using modified analog technology, they had established a communication network the Concorde couldn't detect. Teams were now targeting key Concorde ground installations. Diana herself led the most important mission. Intelligence suggested the Concorde had established a primary control center in what was once a university research facility. Remember, we're here to gather information, not just destroy, Diana told her team as they approached the building under cover of darkness. We need to understand what they're doing to our atmosphere. The team moved silently, using old-fashioned night vision goggles rather than modern digital ones that the Concord could detect. The facility was guarded, but the aliens relied heavily on automated systems that Diana's team had learned to avoid. Inside, they found a large room filled with alien technology. At the center was a glowing holographic display of Earth's atmosphere. "Download everything you can," Diana ordered, pointing to the alien computer interfaces. One of her team members approached with a specially designed device that could copy data without triggering alarms. "Commander, look at this," called another team member. He was pointing to a strange machine that contained what looked like human brain tissue samples. Diana examined it carefully. "They're studying us," she realized. "This isn't just an invasion. It's research." Suddenly alarms blared. "We've been detected," Diana shouted. "Grab what you can and move out." As the team retreated under fire from Concord security forces, Diana made sure the downloaded data was secure. They had what they came for. But at a cost. 2 team members were wounded in the escape. In space, Helena, Marcus, and Lara had developed a bold plan. "The Concord fleet surrounding Earth is controlled from a single command vessel," Lara explained, showing them a holographic image of a massive ship. "If we could infiltrate it, we could access their tactical information and perhaps find a way to disrupt their operations." "Infiltrate a Concord command vessel?" Helena said skeptically. "With just the 3 of us?" Lara's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "Not quite. I have prepared some help." She led them to another section of the outpost where a dozen human-like figures stood motionless. "Synthetic bodies," Lara explained, "designed to mimic Concord workers. They're controlled remotely and will help create a diversion while we access the central data core." Marcus looked impressed. "You've been planning this for a while." "Since I first discovered what the Concord intended for humans," Lara confirmed. "My people believe in studying other species, not exploiting them." The plan was dangerous but well-conceived. Using the Defiance's stealth capabilities, they would approach the command vessel during a scheduled supply delivery. The synthetic decoys would trigger systems failures in different sections of the ship, drawing attention away from the central data core. Days later, their plan was in motion. The Defiance silently approached the massive Concord command ship, using the bulk of a nearby supply vessel for cover. "Remember," Lara warned as they prepared to board, "we'll have limited time before they detect our presence. The synthetics will buy us perhaps 30 minutes." Helena checked her weapon, an old-style projectile gun that Lara had confirmed would work better than energy weapons against Concord security systems. "Then let's not waste a minute." They boarded successfully through a maintenance hatch and the synthetic decoys moved off to their assigned positions. Helena, Marcus, and Lara headed directly for the central core. "This way," Lara whispered, leading them through dimly lit service corridors. "The data core is just ahead." When they reached it, Marcus gasped at the sight. The core was a massive crystalline structure pulsing with light and energy. "I'll need a few minutes to extract the tactical data," Lara said, connecting a device to the core. "Make it quick," Helena urged, keeping watch at the entrance. As Lara worked, Marcus studied the data flowing across a nearby screen. "Helena," he called urgently. "Look at this." The screen showed detailed information about the Concord's true plans for Earth. The atmospheric disruption was Phase 1, designed to stress humanity and trigger accelerated neural adaptation. Phase 2 involved selective harvesting of human cognitive patterns to power the next generation of Concord prediction engines. "They're not just invading Earth," Marcus said in horror. "They're farming us for our creativity." Helena's face hardened. "Not if we have anything to say about it." Lara finished downloading the data. "We have what we need. Let's go." As they hurried back toward their entry point, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. "The synthetics have been discovered sooner than expected," Lara said. "We need to move faster." They ran through the corridors, dodging Concord security forces. At one junction, they were spotted and energy weapons fire erupted around them. Helena returned fire with her projectile weapon, which worked exactly as Lara had predicted. The physical bullets weren't stopped by the Concord's energy shields. "This way," Lara called, pointing to an emergency airlock. They made it to the airlock just as more security forces arrived. Helena held them off while Marcus and Lara prepared for their escape. The Defiance had moved into position nearby. "Now," Marcus shouted. They sealed the inner airlock door and opened the outer one, allowing the vacuum of space to pull them out toward their waiting ship. Using compact propulsion units on their suits, They guided themselves to the Defiance and quickly boarded. Helena took the controls and activated the engines, pulling away from the command ship just as it began to fire on them. "Did we get what we needed?" Helena asked as they accelerated away. Lara nodded, connecting the download device to the ship's computer. This contains their entire tactical database, including details of their operations on Earth. The information confirmed their worst fears, but also offered hope. The Concord wasn't united in its approach to Earth. Several species within the Alliance had expressed concerns about the ethics of the human harvesting program. "This could be useful," Helena said thoughtfully, "if we could make contact with these dissenting factions." As the Defiance raced back toward Earth, they were unaware that their actions had already had an impact. The data breach had forced the Concord to accelerate their plans, pushing them to take more aggressive action sooner than intended. On Earth, Diana West received a mysterious transmission containing detailed information about Concord operations, information that could only have come from the command ship. With it was a simple message: "You're not alone in this fight. Prepare your forces. The real battle is about to begin." Divided loyalties, the grand meeting hall of the Concord Security Council hummed with tense energy. Representatives from the 37-member species sat in ascending rings, their diverse forms illuminated by the soft blue light from above. At the center of the hall, Ambassador Trell stood firm despite the rising voices of DC. "The human operation must continue as planned," Trell insisted. "We have invested too many resources to abandon it now." A tall, willowy alien with violet skin rose from the delegation of the Morvae species. "The methods being employed violate our founding principles," the representative argued. "Atmospheric manipulation causing widespread suffering? Harvesting neural patterns without consent? This is not what the Concord was established to do." Similar objections came from other representatives. The Concord, long united in its decisions, was beginning to fracture over the Earth question. Trell's four eyes narrowed as he surveyed the hall. The data breach from the command ship had spread far more widely than he had hoped. Now nearly a third of the conquered species were questioning the Earth operation. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should consider a temporary pause to reassess our approach." But he had no intention of stopping. As soon as the meeting ended, Trell sent encrypted instructions to his loyal commanders near Earth. "Accelerate Phase 2. Full harvesting to begin immediately. Dissenters will accept the results once they see the power of human neural integration." Far from the Concord's political center, the experimental ship Defiance approached Earth with caution. Helena, Marcus, and Lara watched the planet with concern. The atmospheric disruption was visible even from space. Strange swirling patterns of clouds covered much of the surface. "We need to make contact with the Resistance," Helena said. "The information we've gathered could help them." "There's something else," Lara added quietly. "Something I haven't told you yet." The alien's large eyes seemed troubled. The Conquered isn't the first advanced civilization to take interest in humans. Marcus turned to her with surprise. "What do you mean?" "In my research," Lara explained, "I found references to an ancient species called the progenitors. They visited Earth thousands of years ago and apparently made subtle modifications to early human DNA." Helena frowned. "Modifications? What kind?" "Dormant genetic sequences," Lara said, "designed to activate under specific conditions. The Altari discovered this secret centuries ago but kept it hidden from the Conquered." "And what happens when these sequences activate?" Marcus asked. "Enhanced neural capacity, improved adaptation, possibly even abilities beyond current human capabilities." Lara looked at them gravely. "And I believe the Conquered's atmospheric manipulation is unknowingly triggering this activation." Helena processed this shocking information. "So the Conquered wants to harvest our current neural patterns, not knowing we might be on the verge of evolving into something more." "Precisely," Lara confirmed. "And that makes finding your Commander West even more urgent." Using carefully coded transmissions on frequencies Lara had identified as unmonitored by the Conquered, they eventually made contact with Diana's Resistance. Coordinates for a meeting were exchanged, and the Defiance landed secretly in a remote mountain region. Commander Diana West was not what Helena had expected. Younger than Helena by at least a decade, Diana had the hardened look of someone who had seen too much combat in too short a time. "Admiral Reeves," Diana greeted her with a formal salute. Your reputation precedes you. Just Helena now, she replied, returning the salute. I'm not an admiral anymore. Diana gestured to the small group of fighters with her. To us you are. You were right about the Concord from the beginning. Inside the Resistance's hidden base, Helena, Marcus, and Lara shared everything they had learned. Diana and her team listened with growing concern. This confirms what we've discovered on our own, Diana said when they had finished. The atmospheric changes aren't just for control, they're affecting people physically. She nodded to a nearby doctor who had been monitoring civilian health. The doctor stepped forward. We've observed unusual changes in brain activity among people heavily exposed to the modified atmosphere. Increased creativity, faster problem-solving, but also headaches, insomnia, and in some cases more troubling symptoms. The dormant genes, Lara whispered. They're awakening. While they discussed their next steps, a communication officer rushed in. Commander, we're receiving a transmission on a Concord diplomatic frequency. It's asking specifically for Admiral Reeves. Everyone tensed. It could be a trap, Diana warned. Only one way to find out, Helena replied. When they activated the communication system, they were shocked to see Ambassador Trell's face appear on the screen. Admiral Reeves, Trell said. I'm glad to have found you. What do you want, Ambassador? Helena asked coldly. To talk. Privately, if possible. Trell's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress, according to Lara. The situation has changed. There are now factions within the Concord, and I find myself reconsidering certain positions. Helena remained skeptical. Why should I believe you? Because I can provide access codes to disable the atmospheric processors around Earth, Trell replied. As a gesture of good faith. After the transmission ended, opinions were divided. It's obviously a trap, Diana argued. Why would the lead architect of the invasion suddenly change sides? The Concord is fragmenting over the Earth question, Lara countered. Many species are uncomfortable with the more aggressive approaches. Trell might be trying to position himself with the reformist movement. Helena considered both perspectives. We need those access codes, but we'll proceed with extreme caution. A meeting was arranged at a neutral location, an abandoned weather station high in the mountains. Helena would go with a small team, while Diana maintained a larger force nearby, ready to intervene. As these plans developed, another player entered the game. A Concord scout ship detected unusual energy readings from the Rexian Empire, the Concord's longtime rival in galactic politics. A massive Vrexian fleet was moving toward the solar system. Admiral Jorg of the Vrexians addressed his battle commanders. The Concord's distraction with Earth provides us with a perfect opportunity. While they focus on harvesting humans, we will strike at weakly defended Concord outposts in nearby systems. His second-in-command looked concerned. And what of our message to the humans offering alliance? Jorg smiled coldly. Unnecessary deception. The humans will believe we come as saviors. By the time they realize our true intentions, it will be too late. The Vrexian Empire had no more interest in human freedom than the Concord did. They simply saw an opportunity to seize territory while their rival was occupied. On Earth, Marcus made a breakthrough while studying ancient human artifacts with references to visitors from the stars. These symbols, he explained, pointing to carvings from multiple ancient cultures, they all describe the same event, beings from the sky who changed humans in some way. He cross-referenced these with the genetic information Lara had provided. The progenitors didn't just visit once. They returned many times over thousands of years, gradually introducing the dormant genetic markers. But why? Diana asked. What was their purpose? I believe they were seeding Earth, Lara suggested, creating a species that could eventually replace them. Before they could discuss this further, their sensors detected a massive energy surge from space. The Vrexian fleet had arrived and immediately attacked Concord positions in the outer solar system. They claim to be here to help us, Diana said, reviewing the transmission the Vrexians had sent to Earth. They're offering military alliance against the Concord. Helena shook her head. Convenient timing. I doubt their motives are altruistic. The arrival of the Vrexians complicated an already chaotic situation. Now Helena faced a difficult choice. Trust Trell's offer of alliance, accept the Vrexians' help, or continue fighting alone. The meeting with Trell took place as planned. The ambassador arrived with only 2 guards, as agreed. Admiral, he greeted Helena formally. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I'm here for the access codes, Helena replied, getting straight to the point. Trell nodded. And you shall have them. But first we should discuss the larger situation. He gestured to a nearby table where they could sit. The Conquered is deeply divided over the Earth operation. Many species now favor a diplomatic solution rather than forced integration. That wasn't the impression I got when your ship started manipulating our atmosphere, Helena said dryly. A decision I now question, Trell admitted, but there's something more urgent we must address. The Vrexians, what about them? They aren't here to help Earth, Trell explained. They're using this opportunity to attack Concord territories elsewhere. They have no interest in human independence. Helena studied the ambassador carefully. And I should believe you because I can offer proof, Trell replied, producing a data device. Intercepted Vrexian communications detailing their true strategy. Meanwhile, at the Resistance headquarters, Diana received alarming news. Several of her teams around the world reported being approached by a human general offering Concord support. He claims to represent a splinter faction within Earth's military that has been working with the Conquered all along, her intelligence officer reported. He's offering advanced weapons in exchange for information about your operation. Diana's blood ran cold. What's this general's name? Victor Torres. Marcus, who was nearby, looked up in shock. General Torres? He's the one who helped us escape Earth. He said he was part of the Resistance. Diana immediately increased security and sent urgent warnings to Helena. Torres had been playing both sides, perhaps even from the beginning. At the meeting with Trell, Helena received Diana's warning just as she was beginning to think the ambassador might be sincere. Do you know General Victor Torres? She asked Trell abruptly. Trell's reaction was unmistakable. A flickering of his inner eyelids that Lara had told Helena indicated surprise. General Torres has been our primary human contact for nearly 2 years, Trell admitted. He approached the Concord before our official first contact, offering to help smooth relations. Helena's mind raced. Torres had helped her escape when she was blamed for the diplomatic failure. Had that been part of a larger plan? Was he working with the Conquered or playing them too? Before she could press Trell further, the mountain shook with a massive explosion. Through the windows, they saw Vrexian ships attacking both human and Concord positions. The neutral meeting ground had become a battlefield. We need to get out of here, Helena told her team. She turned to Trell. The access codes, now. Trell quickly transferred the data. I meant what I said about wanting reform, he insisted as they prepared to evacuate. Contact me when you've verified these codes work. As they escaped the collapsing weather station, Helena's team was separated from Trell in the chaos. They made it to their transport just as Vrexian ground forces landed nearby. Back at Resistance headquarters, things had gone from bad to worse. Torres had arrived with a squad of troops and Conquered technology. He claimed to be there to warn Diana about Helena. Reeves has been compromised, Torres told Diana. She's making a deal with Trell that will sacrifice Earth's independence for her own safety. Diana wasn't convinced. That doesn't sound like the Admiral I've heard about. People change, Torres said grimly, especially when their lives are at stake. As they argued, Lara noticed something strange about Torres, subtle differences in his speech patterns and movements compared to humans she had observed. Before she could share her suspicions, Torres made his move. In a lightning-fast action, he drew a concealed weapon and fired at Diana. She dodged just in time, and the Resistance fighters responded immediately. A firefight erupted in the command center. During the confusion, Torres accessed the main computer system and transmitted the Resistance's location coordinates before Diana's people could stop him. You fools, Torres laughed as they finally cornered him. You never understood what was happening. The Conquered doesn't want to destroy humans, they want to perfect you. Just as they perfected me. He touched his face and the human appearance seemed to shimmer slightly. The first successful human-Conquered hybrid, he revealed. My loyalty was never in question. Before they could capture him, Torres activated a personal teleportation device and vanished. Minutes later, Helena's team arrived back at the base. She immediately recognized the gravity of the situation. We need to evacuate, she ordered. Torres knows all our locations. As they hurriedly packed essential equipment, Helena shared what she had learned from Trell. The Conquered is divided. Trell's faction wants reform. The Vrexians are only interested in territory. And now we have Torres and his hybrids to worry about. What about the access codes? Diana asked. If they're genuine, we might be able to shut down the atmospheric processors, Helena replied. But first we need to survive the next few hours. They had just finished loading their transports when the attack began. Conquered forces loyal to Torres' faction descended from above, while Vrexian ground troops approached from the valley below. This way, Diana shouted, leading them toward a hidden tunnel system her people had prepared. As they fled through the mountains, Helena made a difficult decision. We need to test Trell's codes now, she told Marcus. If they work, we might create enough confusion to escape. Marcus uploaded the codes to their remaining communication system. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly the strange clouds overhead began to dissipate. The atmospheric processors were shutting down. Taking advantage of the confusion, the human resistance forces launched a coordinated counterattack. Around the world, Diana's team struck at both conquered and Vrexian positions, using their knowledge of Earth's terrain to maximum advantage. The battle raged across continents. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity fought back with real effectiveness. The conquered forces, already divided by internal politics, struggled to maintain a unified response. The Vrexians, surprised by the humans' sudden capabilities, found themselves fighting on unfamiliar ground. As the Defiance joined Earth's remaining defense fleet in orbit, Helena watched the battle unfold below. Whatever happened next, Earth had proven it wouldn't be taken easily. But the cost had been enormous, and the fight was far from over. We've bought some time, she told Marcus and Lara. Now we need to find a way to end this conflict before there's nothing left to save. A new order. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly fell silent as Helena Reeves and Ambassador Trell entered together. It was an unprecedented sight, a human and a Vexari walking side by side as equals before the gathered representatives of over 100 spacefaring civilizations. 3 weeks had passed since the battle that drove both the Concord Loyalists and Vrexian forces from Earth's orbit. 3 weeks of careful planning and dangerous journeys to reach this moment. The Assembly was the oldest and most respected diplomatic forum in the galaxy, predating even the Conquered. It had limited direct power but enormous influence. Today that influence would be tested. Representatives of the Assembly, Trell began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I come before you to present evidence of corruption within the Conquered leadership, corruption that has led to unprovoked aggression against a developing species. Helena stepped forward, carrying a data crystal. This contains complete records of the Conquered's operations on Earth, including the illegal neural harvesting program and the creation of human Concord hybrids without consent. As the evidence was presented on large viewing screens, shocked murmurs spread through the Assembly. The Conquered had long presented itself as a benevolent force for stability in the galaxy. These revelations painted a very different picture. Representatives from the Concord Loyalist faction tried to object, claiming the evidence was fabricated. But too many independent verification systems confirmed its authenticity. The operation against Earth had violated at least 17 galactic treaties. While Helena and Trell made their case at the Assembly, events on Earth were moving quickly. In the aftermath of the battle, Commander Diana West had discovered something remarkable at the site of a destroyed Conquered atmospheric processor. The soil samples show massive change at the molecular level, explained Dr. Park, examining readings on portable equipment. It's as if the Concord technology interacted with Earth's environment in ways they didn't anticipate. Diana studied the strange, glowing patterns that had appeared in the ground around the processor ruins. Is it dangerous? Not radiation, if that's what you're wondering, Dr. Park replied. It's more like activation energy. The same patterns we've been seeing in affected human brain scans, but externalized somehow. Before they could investigate further, Diana received an urgent message from her global resistance network. Similar phenomena were appearing at processor sites worldwide, and people who ventured near these sites reported unusual experiences, enhanced perception, intuitive understanding of complex systems, even limited telepathic abilities. The dormant genes, Diana whispered. They're not just activating, they're transforming. Meanwhile, deep in space beyond Neptune, Marcus Reed worked with Lara aboard the ancient progenitor outpost. After their discovery about human genetic modification, Marcus had convinced Lara to help him unlock the outpost's deepest secrets. These systems haven't been activated for thousands of years, Lara said as they carefully restored power to a section that had remained sealed until now. The progenitors left this place as a legacy for whoever would follow them. The central chamber hummed with energy as ancient displays flickered to life. Marcus stared in awe at the holographic images that appeared, detailed maps of human DNA alongside specifications for technology far beyond current understanding. It's a gift, he realized. The progenitors left this for humanity, to be found when we were ready. Among the activated systems was a defensive network that extended throughout the solar system, technology capable of creating energy fields that could repel any invasion force. This is how we protect Earth, Marcus said, studying the controls. But it will take time to understand fully. Back on Earth, Diana's forces had secured key locations around the globe. The disruption of the atmospheric processors had weakened the Concord Loyalists' hold, while the Vrexians had retreated after suffering unexpected losses. General Torres, the human-conquered hybrid who had betrayed them, had disappeared after the battle. But his legacy remained in the form of other hybrids who had infiltrated Earth's governments and military. We need to develop a way to identify them, Diana told her advisors. Until then, we can't know who to trust. One of her science team stepped forward with a surprising suggestion. The activated sites, the places where the processors were destroyed. People with active progenitor genes can sense the hybrids when near those sites. Something about the energy fields makes the artificial neural patterns visible to them. This discovery led to a systematic effort to scree. In government officials and military leaders, many hybrids were found and contained. Others fled, attempting to contact their conquered masters. As these events unfolded on Earth, Helena faced her greatest challenge at the Galactic Assembly. The evidence against the conquered leadership was overwhelming, but the question remained, what should be done about Earth? Humanity has proven itself capable of defending its sovereignty, Helena argued. We ask only for recognition as an independent species with the right to determine our own future. A representative from a species known as the Midorians, ancient allies of the now extinct progenitors, rose to speak. The assembly records indicate that the progenitors took special interest in Earth millennia ago, the Midorian said. If their genetic modifications are now activating in humans, this matter extends beyond simple territorial rights. We must consider the progenitors' intentions. This sparked intense debate. The progenitors had been among the most advanced species in galactic history. Their technology and wisdom had shaped many civilizations before they mysteriously departed the galaxy thousands of years ago. If they had designed humans as their successors, as Lara believed, this changed everything. Ambassador Trell, seeing an opportunity, proposed a compromise. Let Earth be recognized as a protected developing world, with a security zone extending throughout its solar system. No conquered or other forces would be permitted to enter without invitation. And who would enforce this protection? Asked a skeptical representative. The Assembly could establish an independent monitoring force, Trell suggested, composed of species with no stake in Earth's resources. As negotiations continued at the Assembly, Marcus made a breakthrough at the progenitor outpost. He had managed to activate the main defensive system, a network of energy projectors that could create a protective field around the entire solar system. It's incredible, he told Lara as they watched the system power up. This technology doesn't just block physical intrusion, it selectively filters based on intent. Ships with peaceful purposes can pass through. Those with hostile intent cannot. Lara studied the controls with fascination. The progenitors were masters of psycho-reactive technology. Their systems respond to thought patterns as much as physical parameters. When Marcus shared this discovery with Helena via secure communication, she immediately saw its value in the negotiations. If we can demonstrate this protective capability, she told Trell, it strengthens our position considerably. Earth wouldn't need external protection. Trell agreed. This could be the solution we need. But we should move quickly. The Concord Loyalists are gathering support for a direct intervention on Earth. The revelation of the progenitor defense system changed the dynamic at the Assembly. Earth now possessed technology that could enforce its own security. The proposed monitoring force became unnecessary, but there was still the matter of the Concord itself. The corruption revealed by Helena and Trell had shaken the foundation of the alliance. Many member species were calling for reform or threatening to withdraw entirely. In a private meeting with representatives from the major factions, Helena proposed a bold solution. The Concord was founded on principles of mutual benefit and protection. Over time, it became dominated by a few powerful species who exploited the others. What if we restructured it entirely? A new alliance with equal representation and transparent governance? The idea gained traction quickly. Many species had long chafed under the hierarchical structure of the Concord. The prospect of a more equitable arrangement appealed to them. Trell, seeing which way the wind was blowing, positioned himself as a champion of reform. I propose we dissolve the current Concord Leadership Council and establish a transitional authority to design a new framework. All species, including Earth if it wishes, would have equal voice in this process. As these diplomatic efforts progressed, Diana made a disturbing discovery on Earth. The activation of dormant progenitor genes was accelerating. More and more humans were developing enhanced abilities, some beneficial, others potentially dangerous. We need guidance on how to manage this transition, she told Marcus during a secure communication. These changes are happening too quickly for society to adapt naturally. Marcus shared her concern. The progenitor database suggests this process was meant to unfold over generations, not months. The Concord's atmospheric manipulation accelerated it dramatically. He promised to search the outpost archives for solutions while continuing to bring the defensive system fully online. When Helena returned to Earth after the successful assembly negotiations, she found a world transformed. The strange glowing sites had expanded, creating networks of energy pathways visible from space. Millions of people had been affected by the genetic activation, developing varying degrees of enhanced abilities. Diana met Helena at a secure landing facility. "Welcome home, Admiral. A lot has changed since you left." "So I see," Helena replied, looking at the glowing energy patterns visible even in daylight. "Are we handling it?" "As best we can," Diana said. "We've established adaptation centers to help people understand and control their new abilities. But there's something else you should see." She led Helena to a medical facility where several former Concord human hybrids were being treated. After we captured them, something unexpected happened. The progenitor energy began affecting their neural patterns, overriding the Concord modifications. Helena watched through an observation window as a former hybrid named Eliza demonstrated her condition to a doctor. As Eliza concentrated, her appearance flickered between her human form and the hybrid features. "They're caught between two evolutionary paths," Diana explained. "Our scientists think they might eventually stabilize as something new. Neither fully human nor what the Concord designed." "General Torres?" Helena asked. "Still missing," Diana replied grimly. "But we'll find him." As they discussed the situation, Marcus contacted them with exciting news from the progenitor outpost. "I've found something incredible," he reported via secure link. A message left by the progenitors themselves. It was encoded in a format that could only be accessed once humans had begun the transformation. The message, when played, showed a being of light and energy, the evolved form of a progenitor. It spoke in a language that seemed to bypass normal hearing, going directly to the mind. "Children of Earth," it said, "if you are receiving this message, then the seeds we planted have begun to flower. Long ago, our species reached the limits of physical evolution and transcended to a higher state of existence. But before we departed this plane, we sought to leave behind inheritors who might one day join us." The being explained that humanity had been designed with unique potential, the capacity to adapt rapidly and to bridge the gap between physical and energy states. The dormant genes were meant to activate gradually as humans reached appropriate technological and social development. "The path before you has many branches," the message continued. "You may choose to remain as you are, to accelerate your evolution, or to find a middle way. Whatever you choose, remember that power without wisdom leads to destruction. We offer no dictates, only possibility." The message ended with technical information about how to control the activation process and how to use the defensive systems. Helena, Diana, and Marcus discussed the implications of this revelation in a secure meeting with Earth's remaining unified leadership. "We have choices to make," Helena said. "Not just about our relationship with other species, but about our own future evolution." Diana looked troubled. These abilities, they're powerful. Some people are already talking about using them for military purposes, which is exactly what we should avoid, Marcus argued. The progenitor message was clear. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. After much debate, they reached a consensus. Earth would establish a new agency to research and monitor the progenitor technology and genetic changes. The defensive system would be activated but used only for protection, never aggression, and individuals would be given the choice whether to embrace the genetic activation or have it suppressed. Meanwhile, in the wider galaxy, the old Concord was dissolving. Trell's proposed reforms had gained widespread support, and a new interstellar alliance was taking shape. Based on principles of equal representation and mutual respect, it would be called simply the Coalition. Earth was invited to join as a founding member, with Helena representing humanity's interests. Lara emerged from hiding to represent her people, the Altari, who had been marginalized under the old Concord. 6 months after the battle that drove the invaders from Earth, a ceremony was held at the new Coalition headquarters, a neutral space station built specifically for this purpose. Representatives from over 50 species gathered to sign the founding charter. Helena stood before the assembly, conscious of the historic nature of the moment. We gather here not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. Earth has learned much from this conflict, about the galaxy, about other species, and about ourselves. She looked around at the diverse gathering. The progenitors believed in potential. They saw in humanity the capacity for growth and adaptation. But these qualities are not unique to us. Every species here has its own gifts, its own wisdom to contribute. Ambassador Trell, now leading the reformed Vexari delegation, nodded in agreement. The old Concord failed because it became rigid and hierarchical. The Coalition must remain flexible, transparent and just. Lara, representing the Altari, added her voice. And we must remember that evolution, whether technological, social, or biological, brings both opportunity and responsibility. As the charter was signed, Marcus activated the final component of the progenitor defensive system. A subtle energy field expanded outward from Earth, eventually encompassing the entire solar system. Unlike conventional shields, this barrier was selective, blocking those with harmful intent while allowing peaceful visitors to pass. Back on Earth, Diana oversaw the continuing adaptation efforts. The glowing energy sites had stabilized, becoming permanent features of the landscape. They served as both research centers and places of learning, where those with activated genes could safely explore their new abilities. General Torres was eventually found hiding in an abandoned Concord facility on Mars. The genetic changes had affected him too, breaking down the hybrid conditioning. He surrendered without resistance, his mind now a unique blend of human and alien perspectives that provided valuable insights into both. 1 year after the failed first contact meeting that had started everything, Helena stood with Marcus on a hillside overlooking one of the largest energy sites. The glowing patterns pulsed gently in the evening light, creating beautiful displays in the sky above. Do you think the progenitors knew what would happen? Marcus asked. That the Concord would find us and accelerate their plans? Helena watched a group of children playing near the energy field. Some of them displayed subtle signs of the genetic changes, a slight glow in their eyes, an unusual grace of movement. I think they knew there would be challenges. That's why they left us a choice. And have we chosen wisely? Marcus wondered. Helena thought about the new coalition, the defensive shield that protected Earth without isolating it, and the careful approach to the genetic changes. I think we're trying to. That's all any species can do. As night fell, the energy patterns grew brighter, reaching up toward the stars. Somewhere out there, the progenitors might be watching, and somewhere in the future humanity might join them. But for now, Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals among many in a new cosmic order. The journey had just begun.